Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing great. Welcome back to Target PubAd. In today's video, we will going to discuss the ideas of Mary Parker Follett. So Mary Parker Follett was a social worker. Born in 1868 and died in 1933. And she was an American social worker, and she was also an management consultant. Means she was social worker and management consultant. She is regarded as the bridge between the classical approach and the behavioral human relation approach to the organization. She was the only one who focused on the human dimension in the organization. Means she discussed the she discussed the relationship between the classical approach and behavioral human relation. Unlike other contemporary theorists, she viewed the organization as a social system and administration as a social process. She was the only one who discussed this. She highlighted for the first time the sociological and psychological dimension of administration and management. She brought out the human dimension of the organization and pointed out the rules of the situational factor on organizational behavior. Means how situation can affect the organizational behavior in the organization. Hence, Follett is looked at the precursor for foreigner of the behavioral human relation approach to the organizational analysis. Danielle A. Warren says that chronologically she belongs to the scientific management era and philosophically she belongs to the social man era. It is important to note that chronologically, if we talk about in chronological manner, she belongs to the scientific management era, but in a philosophically she belongs to the behavioral human relationship era. Means social man era. Man is a social man. As classical thinker, she believes that the universality of her principle of the organization as a behavioralist human relationist. She emphasizes on the significance of the socio-psychological aspects of the organizational behavior. Ulrich and Metcalf observed that her conception were in advance of her time. Means the conception, means the theories that she gave are advanced of her time. They are still in advance of current thinking. Means we can also not think about that period, but they are gold mine of suggestion that who's interesting in the problem of establishing, maintaining human cooperation in the conduct of an organization. Follett criticized the classical theory of organization mainly because the mechanical approach and for neglecting the social psychological dimension of organizational behavior. Means why she criticized classical theory of administration? Because it is neglected the human dimensions in the organization. That's why she neglected this theory. Her major work include that Speaker of the House of Representatives in 1896, the New State in 1920, then Creative Experience, then Dynamic Administration, and it is set of Follett paper edited by Lyndon Goodwick and Metcalf. Second edition was edited by L. Ulrich, Lyndon Ulrich, and M. E. Fox in 1973. The various concepts and principles initiated by Follett can be discussed under the following heads. First one's conflict and integration. To Follett, conflicts in the organization are unavoidable due to individual differences. What is conflicts? What is conflict? In simple words, if we talk about conflicts, means differences in one's views. Okay. So what is the conflict? Differences in one's view, means differences in people's view. They are uninvitable because individual differences, because everyone has different sets of thinking, everyone has different perspectives, so everyone thinks differently. That's why there is a conflict in the organization. Conflict is not warfare. but they are the only appearance of the differences of opinion, interest, and among different categories of people in the organization. Hence, conflict should be conceived as not too wasteful and harmful, but that the normal process and should be handled in a constructive way. Follett propounded the concept of constructive conflict, that this constitute a positive approach to the resolution of conflict in order to realize organizational goals. Follett suggested three ways to resolving a conflicts in the organization. What are these ways? These: domination, victory of one side over the other side. It is a way to resolve the conflict. Compromise, like both the parties sits together and surrender some part of what they want, means some part of their thinking. Then it is then integration, then finding a new solution which satisfy the real needs of both the parties. Neither side sacrifice anything, means in this there is a there is what we can say, the sacrifice of one party in completely. In compromise, both party need to sacrifice something, but in integration, first we need to find the real needs of the both the parties, then both parties will come together and will find something new way. That is called the integration, and this is the most satisfied way or best way of resolving the conflicts due to Follett. And there is a merits also of this view, integration, like it resolve once for all original conflicts, that is goes to the root of the problem. Like if we need to find the real problem or real needs of the both the parties, then we need to find the problem, then only we can find the solution, right? So we need to go to the root of the problem, and we will find the problem. If we find the problem, then we will remove it from originality, means original conflict will be removed. It makes us better technique and saves times and resources. It leads to emergence of new values and develop a new situation, means what will it will lead? It will lead to the new values, it will derive new values, new development in the organization. Follett also suggested the various steps in the achievement of integration. They are: each side should recognize for itself and what is real need and what bring differences into open, breaking down the whole demand into the constituent parts, examine the real meaning of the symbol, and preparation for response of the others. That is called the real needs. Integration, though most satisfying way to end conflict, but it is not easiest. Yes, there is a involvement of different parties, so it is also not easiest. According to Follett, several obstacles are there in the path of the integration, such as it requires high degree of intelligence, keen perception and discrimination, and brilliant inventiveness, means originality, which are rare among administrators. Most people are habituated to enjoy domination over others. People theorize instead of the suggesting active steps. Obsession of managers with power, and most of them try to get power over. Language used which arouses antagonism. People are not trained in making integration, and the most important obstacle to the integration. So training is the most important obstacle in the path of integration. So it is a major hindrance, major issue. The giving of orders. Next is like Taylor, Fayol, Ulrich, Gulick, and other classical thinkers. Follett also accepted the need of giving the orders in the organization. In fact, she even suggested the 4 steps in giving of order: a concise attitude to know the different personnel which are underlying giving orders, a responsible attitude to identify those principles which should become the basis of giving order, and experimental attitude to make an experiment to analyze the success and failures of the order. Last but not the least, a result attitude to pull the result to change the extent and manner of giving order is existing method are found insufficient. So to Follett, giving orders is not just simple affairs as the people resent being bossed over. Hence, the job of a superior is not merely giving orders. Means superior has not only to give orders to the subordinate, but he should also learn how to manipulate subordinates so that they accept order and without questioning. Means how they can manipulate the things. Superior should learn that, and so that the subordinate can easily accept the order and without asking any questions. Habit pattern, mental attitudes, time and places, circumstances are important variable governing for both giving and receiving the orders. To follow it, one should avoid two extreme, that is too much of bosses in giving orders practically and not giving orders at all. Means these two things should be avoided. According to Follett, means too much bosses. Yeah, like you are the boss. If you are a boss, then you are not supreme, right? So in giving orders and practically not giving orders, so if you are not giving any order and you are sit like a subordinate with them, so that is also a issue. So these two extreme conditions should be avoided. The answer to this problem lies, according to Follett, depersonalizing the giving of orders. In her words, my solution is to depersonalize the giving of orders to unite all concerned in the study of this situation, to discover the law of a situation and obey that. This way, nobody gives order to anybody. Both accept the order given by the situation. Order, therefore, should come from an action, not action from orders. Means order should come from the action, not action comes from the order. Depersonalization of orders, exercise of authority of this situation. Means depersonalization का मतलब क्या होता है? We are exercising the authority of the situation. Means we are first there should be an action, then only order should be given. Means not action should not come from the orders. Though Follett and depersonalization of orders are not different from mechanistic approach of the classical theories, she differed from them by highlighting the human dimension of administration. To resolve this paradox, Follett talks about the repersonalizing. What is the new concept of power? According to Follett, power is the ability to make things happen. Means if you are having a power, then you have the ability to things happen, to be casual agent, to initiate change. She distinguished between the power over and power with. Power over is less advantageous than the power with. It means asserting of oneself and forcing another to do one's will. It leads to the resentment and reaction. However, it cannot be get rid of, hence it should be reduced. The way of reducing power over, according to Follett, are the use of integration, the solution that meets the real need of both the sides, the correct use of the circular behavior, and the use of law of the situation. Follett said that the superior does not share power with his immediate subordinate. Means the superior should not share power. He should not share power with the subordinates. Means, but he can give them opportunities for developing their power. Means what they can do. Manager in the organization. There is a manager in the organization. He empowered immediate subordinate as an AM, AM1, AM2, AM3, and what he did not share his its power with them. But what he did, he made these managers, assistant managers, powerful so that they can also subordinate other employees. Like there is a team leaders in these category under AM. So these TLs will be also powerful. These assistant manager will be powerful, but he did not share his power, but he made them powerful. They developed, the manager developed assistant managers power. He can encourage them to integrate their activities so that they can achieve jointly develop power. This way, power with leads is more power than power over. Power with other more advantages, power over. Developing entity, it encourages cooperative efforts, promotes superior understanding, and reduce conflicts. Power over is an independent power which is used only to the benefit of the individual or group using it. Power with is a joint power arises when two individual or groups pool their power to arrive and a settlement is satisfactory to both. In brief, power over is a coercive power while power with is a jointly developed or coactive power. Follett argued that power with must replace power over. Power over should not be placed in the organization. It should be replaced by power with. Then we have authority and responsibility. So what is authority and what is responsibility? In case of a power, if there is a power means there is authority. And if there is authority, then there should be a responsibility. It means they should be contemporary to each other. Follett made a radical departure from the classical administrative thought and developed new concept of authority and responsibility. Follett made a distinction between power and authority. So what is power? There is a distinction. There is a difference between power and authority. She defined authority as a vested power. Vested power, the right to develop and exercise power. Means a person is giving authority means he has a right to exercise the authority. Means he is having the right to hold this authority. Authority is derived from the function of a job performed, not from the position held in. Means authority is kind of a function. Authority involves a function, but not a job or position. In other words, authority belongs to the job and stays with the job. Hence, one who does the job must have the authority whether superior likes it or not. Means if you are liking or not liking doesn't matter, but if you have authority, if you have that position, you have the authority. Authority belongs to the job and it stays with the job only. And authority belongs to the function, job, and it cannot be delegated. The term delegation of authority thus is an obsolete expression. She asserted authority must be functional and functional authority carries it with responsibility. Means authority should be like functional. Means it is depends on the works, job, and it is functional authority is carries responsibility with itself only. She therefore advocated the ideas of functional authority and pluralistic authority or cumulative authority and rejected the idea of final authority as an illusion. The real authority in the organization is the sum of the smaller authorities as authority is interwoven women and various level of the organization. Responsibility. What is responsibility? Responsibility, like authority, it is an attribute of a function or situation in the organization. Follett said it is a question of for what is one responsible rather than to whom is one responsible. Means she questioned that for what one is responsible rather than to whom one is responsible. She therefore advocated the idea of functional responsibility and pluralistic responsibility or cumulative responsibility or group responsibility and rejected the idea of final responsibility as an illusion. Pluralistic responsibility connotes two things: lower level executive participation in the policy formation, two of workers participation in the management. So pluralistic responsibility having the two things. What are these two things? Pluralistic responsibility having two things. First one is lower level executive in the participation in policy formulation, and second one is workers participation in the management. Means lower level and workers participation in the lower level participation in the policy formulation and workers participation in the management. With regards to her ideas control also, Follett differed from the Taylor, Fayol, Gulick, Ulrich, and other classical theorists. She advocated correlated control rather than the superimposed control, fact control rather than the men control. Thus, control in the organization is cumulative and pluralistic and not concentrated at the top level. Next is leadership. So, according to Follett, the leader is not the head of the department or president of the organization, but who can see all round of a situation, who sees it related to the certain purposes and policies, who see it evolving into a next situation, who understand how to pass from one situation to another, is a leader. He is the man who can show that the order is integral to the situation. Follett stated that such people are found not only at the top but throughout the organization. Means the person who is having the authority or who is not a head of the organization can be a leader, but he can see around all the situation in the organization is a leader who can understand like how to pass from one situation to another. A man who shows its order into integral to the situation means they are not found at the top level of the organization, but they can be found at every level of the organization. That is called leader. Followed opinion that the leader or not only influence his group but also influenced by it. Means he does not only influence his group, means he does not only influence its subordinate, but it also influenced by this group of people. She called its reciprocal relationship as a circular response. Further, leader must also be influenced by the expert within the organization. Finally, the function of the leader is to create a group power, group with, rather than the exercise the personal power, means group over. Means he needs to create the power. He needs to create power. He did not like he need not to exercise personal power, but he needs to create power. Okay. Later Follett distinguish between the following three types of leadership. There are three types of leadership. What are these? So leadership of position. So there is a leadership of position, not a person. Means there is a value of position, like value of MD, AM, manager. So there is a value of position, DM. After that, there is a value of personality. The leader who holds forceful personal qualities. Means if a person is holding any authority, like he's holding personal qualities, like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Swami Vivekanand. They don't have any position, but what they have a leadership of personality. Next is leadership of function, who hold position and personality also, like Narendra Modi. Mr. Narendra Modi is having a personality as well as position also. He's holding the prime minister. He's a prime minister of the country, and he's also having a personality, distinguished personality. Follett said that only those who possess functional knowledge laid in the modern organization uh, and not those who possess formal position or forceful personality. She viewed that the successful operation of an organization, it must be sufficiently flexible to allow leadership of function to operate fully, to allow the men of with the knowledge and the technique to control the situation. According to Follett, the functions of leadership are: first one is coordination. He need to coordinate, to integrate the different part and build them into an effective unity. Second is definition of purpose, to clearly set the pattern and objective of the organization. Anticipation, to have insight into the fate of the future. Faith in the future, it's making the next situation and not only meeting the next situation. To organize experience of a group and make it available, most effectively available, and transform into group power. To develop the leadership among the subordinate, leaders should train his subordinate how to control a situation themselves. Follett believed that leaders are not only born, but they can be made. Means leaders are, or not all leaders are born, but they can be made also. She rejected so-called intangible capacity of leader and asserted the leader can be learned. Means it is not, leadership is not a God gifted, but they can also be achieved by the learning. She believes in the learning. Next is planning and coordination. So Follett established a close nexus between the planning and coordination. In fact, coordination as a principle of planning figured prominently in her work. She felt that central planning imposed from the national level over the local level is doomed to failure due to lack of coordination. That is harmonious ordering of the parts. Hence, central planning should be mechanism to facilitate the coordinating process. She postulates four fundamental principles of the coordination. What are these four fundamental principles? So, coordination by direct contact. First is coordination by direct contact. So, what is coordination by direct contact? The responsible people should be in a direct contact with one another regardless of their position in the organizational ladder. Horizontal communication is an important as vertical chain of command in achieving coordination. Next is coordination in the early stage. The people concerned should have involved in the policy making stage itself rather than at the later stage of implementation. Such an early participation results in increased motivation and higher morale. This vital principle is largely ignored in the central planning. So this principle generally get ignored in the central planning of the organization. Third one is coordination as continuing process. Yes, coordination as a continuing process. So Follett viewed the coordination as a continuous process, that is from planning to activity, from activity to further planning, like from planning to controlling, budgeting, everything. There is a coordination, and if there is a lack of coordination at any stage in the organization, then there will be a no growth of that organization, and there should be a permanent coordination machinery to solve the problem in a rational manner or in a detailed manner. Coordination as a reciprocal phenomena. Coordination as a reciprocal relating to all factors in a situation indicates its process. All factors should be related to one another, and interrelationship among themselves should be considered. Thus, Follett regarded as an organization as a system of interrelated parts. Follett stressed all these principles should be underpinned by information based on a continuous research. So this was all about the Mary Parker Follett. Thank you for everyone for this lecture. And if you like my videos, please do subscribe and like my videos. Thank you everyone. I hope you have a great day ahead.